So today we're going to talk a little bit about some constant reminders that we do to do hard things and to be the person that we want to be, to accomplish our goals. For example, one of the things that I do every single day is I take the stairs. My work is on the 5th floor, and it's kind of a trek, I'm not going to lie, but it always reminds me, every single day it reminds me that life is about taking the stairs. It's the elevator is easy and it'll get you up there, but it doesn't give you the health benefit that you need. And it's not to say that, that's my exercise for the day, but it's to say that there are things that are more difficult, of course, but for you at the end of the day, it's better, right? So what are some of the things that you have in your head or some things that you do, George, that remind yourself to take the extra step, to go the extra mile, and to take care of yourself and other people?
Yeah, great question. So I would say the first thing would be exercise for sure. That would be one thing.
As in like exercise every day, just like actual exercise.
Actual exercise. Yeah. I mean, don't get me wrong, stairs, I'm always winded up the stairs. So I think you can call that exercise, but
the stair stepper, they got that one too.
But for me, I always try to fit in exercise at some point in my day.
Yeah.
Right. The second thing that I'd share would actually be waking up at a certain time or having a strict schedule.
Okay.
The reason why I say that is those two can work really well in tandem, and that's why I mentioned them together.
Yeah.
Right? Because for 2 years of my life, I woke up at 6 a.m. right every morning, and I exercised for about an hour, and it was a great habit that I picked up. It was a 2-year service mission that I actually did, and it was a habit that I didn't want to lose. I can admittedly say I haven't been perfect. It's ebbed and flowed because sometimes
nobody's perfect, right?
Except for you, Tanner. So.
don't even go there, dude. Come on. Too kind.
But, because college sometimes can get really busy, right? My junior year was intense. So sometimes I had to adjust, and sometimes you do that in life, right? Maybe if you're dating someone, you have to adjust. But yeah, that's something that I definitely would say is waking up, having some sort of a schedule, right? It doesn't have to be early either, right? Like if you're an evening person, that's fine too, right? But having a schedule so you can fit in exercise, that would be one thing that, I definitely say. This is another personal thing for my own life, but have you heard of intermittent fasting?
Yes, I have actually.
Yeah, so
But for the listeners out there, tell us about it.
Okay, so if I'm wrong, I apologies in advance if I get a few details wrong here, but intermittent fasting is where you have a strict schedule or period of time where you can eat, right? And that can be any time from 6 to, I believe, 10 hours, or was it 12? Maybe 12 hours. But the whole purpose of it is
6 to 10 hours, like in between each other, or what do you
oh,
mean?
sorry, as in you can have any range between 10 to 10 hours. So
I see.
I could eat, for example, I could decide to eat between 12 and 6.
Right.
That for me is a bit hard because I love food too much. And, given, I eat out with friends a lot and all that. So I actually do an 8-hour period.
Okay.
Or at least I try to.
Right.
Not always successful, but my 12 o'clock, that is something that I'm decently strict at, right?
Yeah.
That's another reminder for me in saying that I can do hard things, right? Because with waking up, that's the first step. It's like, oh, gosh, everyone wants to sleep in, I'm sure. At least, 90% of people.
I don't think, I only know one person. There's one person I know in my entire life that has woken up and just loves the day immediately. And she is just something else. She's like
there are people
the most
like
incredible
that.
person, and
yeah,
it's amazing. But
that's why I had to correct myself because there are people like that.
Very few and far between, though. Like that is pretty rare.
Oh, very, very rare in my experience. But that's kind of you telling your body, no, like, hey, I'm gonna get up. The exercise is another thing, and exercising, that's very relative, right?
Yeah.
Again, on that 2-year service mission, I was able to exercise harder than I ever had before. And what was really cool about it is it kind of unlocked this mental strength, right, from the physical ability to say, hey, I can push myself a lot further than I thought I could, right? One of my favorite activities was actually bulldogs. So have you heard of that?
No.
Exercise?
What is that?
So you have markers, right? For me, I just did it in a parking lot. And this was at a time on that 2-year service mission where I was already pretty experienced. I was going around the mission actually kind of coaching, if you will, other service volunteers, right?
Yeah.
And so I went to a parking lot, and you know how those the lines for
the parking spots.
Yeah, parking
the
spots.
spaces, yeah.
So you would have to run to one, and you'd set whatever number. I did 5 to 10, right? So you'd run to the first marker, you'd do 5 push-ups. You get down, and then you run to the opposite marker, do 5 push-ups.
Okay.
Then you'd run to the one after that, just
so
the line after that. Yeah, incrementally. You're running to that.
Longer.
And you're sprinting, by the way. So
it's not just a jog.
It's not just a jog. You're sprinting to these. You get down, you do 5, and then you run to the opposite one, do 5. Then, 6. And then for the third one, you're running to that one, 2 after the first one you did. Hopefully that makes sense.
Yeah.
And then you're doing 7 push-ups, right?
Oh,
and
so the push-ups also increment.
Yes.
Wow. Okay.
So it's not only the distance, but it's the push-ups.
So it gets harder and longer.
Yes. And it's not just one set that you do, or at least it wasn't just one set we did. It was, I love to do, once you hit the 10, you do 9 back.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like, once you hit the 10, it's not like, hey, your job's not over yet.
Like, you still got a lot to go.
Exactly. And it was really fun because once, when I do this with other service volunteers, I actually started to incorporate burpees, and that was like a whole nother level. So it was just amazing because there were times when these other service volunteers were like, no, that's really hard, right? Especially when I said after we did one set, right there and back, I'd say, all right, the next level is burpees, and they said, no, like I'm way tired, and I'm like, no, you can do this. I'd say just keep up, right? That's all. Just focus on doing it together and doing it as a team. And that's all.
Totally.
And it's amazing because after we do that exercise, they'd come out, they'd be sweating their face off, obviously, but they were like, oh my gosh, like that, I did that. Yeah. And you'd see the elation on their face, and you'd say, yeah, like this is what it's all about, right? Like pushing yourself and having that joy to know, hey, I can do harder things, right?
Totally.
And then obviously with food, I love food so much. So, not having breakfast until 12, or actually kind of just eat a lunch, it was harder at first, right? But then the amazing thing, to your point about, having those daily reminders, I'm sure for you, the stairs are easier, right? Maybe. I think you always get winded after stairs, but, maybe you start.
They get easier.
Yeah. So those are 3 things in my daily life that, I can think of, reminders of doing hard things.
That's awesome. Honestly, I love that so much. Where did you serve again for your mission?
Yeah, I served in Brisbane, Australia. So I served stateside.
Okay, yeah, stateside.
Yeah. All the international missionaries come to Australia. Yeah, continental side, exactly.
As one might say.
Yeah, exactly. Oh my gosh,
cool.
It's great.
Yeah, that's awesome, dude. Honestly, like these daily reminders, everyone should have at least one, I would say. Yeah. Because if you don't have one, the strict regimen, the strict schedule, honestly, is one of the biggest things. And the cool part about that is like you don't even need to have this long list of things that you have to do every day at a certain time. Like it could just be one reminder, or one time you wake up, or one time you go to bed, or if you're trying to get into it, if you're trying to jumpstart this schedule, this regimen, I think that honestly is one of the best things to do is just follow it. Create it as a non-negotiable and say, look, there is no other option. Like, this is what I'm going to do, and I'm going to do everything it takes to make that happen. And of course, you're doing a lot of different things on the schedule. But if you're just getting started, if you're just struggling to make that happen, choose one thing. Choose, waking up or going to bed, or not looking at your phone until 12, p.m. or
I love that.
Something like whatever it is. Honestly, is something that you guys can try out, and that'll help you a ton, honestly.
Yeah, no, I love that. I think one thing that I love most that you said is non-negotiable, right? The moment you say one thing, you kind of just have to stick to it.
Right.
And then over time, that becomes a habit, and you kind of realize the benefits, and I think from there, it gets easier.
Yeah, it totally gets easier. And once you've declared it as a non-negotiable, you have, like, your mindset changes too. And you're just like, oh, I'm going to do this. Like, this would be cool. But if you're like, I'm doing this, and I am going to cut my own arm off if this doesn't happen, right? And I hope you guys don't.
I've done it before. No, I'm just kidding.
I hope you guys don't actually do that, because that would be insane. But that type of mindset really can help you start that initiative.